speaking today with Andrei Sharonov, the Managing Director of Troika Dialog and the head of its investment banking. Andrei is the previous State Secretary and Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade of Russia from 1997 to 2007. Hello, Andrei. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I wonder if you could describe to me a little bit about Troika Dialog and its investment banking business and its activities.
Okay, Troika Dialog is a full-scale investment bank, probably the oldest in Russia. Next winter we will celebrate the 20th anniversary. It's quite big for Russia, with very short story of the market in this country. So we deal with all sort of activities in investment banking, at sales and trading of securities. It's M&A, ECM, DCM activities. It's asset management, private banking. It's also venture capital activity. We manage some venture funds. We are the biggest trader in the world of Russian stock. It's 12% of total turnover, both local shares, ADR and GDR, come through Troika. So we are working in Russia, 25 cities of Russia, and also in New York, London, Cyprus, Kiev, and Almaty.
As a young investment bank, sort of, who would you say you most closely model yourself after? There's, of course, the commodities-linked investment banks like Macquarie. There's more established investment banks, of course, like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, and then there's the boutiques.
It's not boutique. It's full-scale investment bank, and we have competitors, and we see all global banks in Russia as our competitors, and we have two strong local competitors. One is state bank, another is private bank. So the area in Russia, despite of its youth, it's quite competitive, and we have to survive in this environment.
How would you describe the state of investment banking in Russia today? Of course, capital markets are in various stages of developments all over the world. In many ways, Russia is, of course, a developing market. How would you describe it?
In terms of performance during the crisis, our main indices dropped on 80%, from 2,500 up to 500. Now it gained threefold, up to 1,500, but it's still below the record level, pre-crisis level, and it's very volatile, and it fluctuates around this figure, 1,500. So with quite unstable and not fast-growing market we see in Russia. As far as different businesses, DCM, that business is very active, but not for all companies like we saw before the crisis. Only rated companies can issue ruble bonds, and moreover euro bonds, which is more difficult for the company. M&A activity is not quite intensive as it was before the crisis, and ECM activity. A lot of companies would like to place its shares, but very often transactions are postponed due to the price negotiations. Sellers would like to get more money as usual, and sometimes its expectations differ many points, substantively different from readiness of buyers to pay for this stock. Still, many companies have quite heavy debt. That's why they would like to issue shares because of their huge indebtedness. Situation is, let's say, working, but not the best, not the brilliant, and the pace of growth is not so huge as probably somebody expected before.
A lot of our readers and viewers are, of course, based in Asia. In Asia, we're very familiar with the China story. China's, of course, growth and development, I guess, away from a centrally controlled economy to, I guess, a more open economy with privately owned enterprises. In Russia, of course, you've also had a similar story of privatization. I guess the relationship between government and corporations is very strong. In terms of Troika Dialog, how do you see this, the relationship between private enterprise and government evolving? How strong are the bonds?
PPP, public-private partnership in Russia is now a very popular topic, and government really tries to develop this form of cooperation, especially for infrastructure projects, because Russia needs a huge amount of money to renovate and create new infrastructure, not only in transportation but also in technology, innovation, and other areas of infrastructure. And the real opportunity government has, it's much lower. That's why government is looking for private partners. And we see some first cases like toll roads between Moscow and St. Petersburg, toll roads between Moscow and Minsk, where the government has found private partners to start with. It's international names. For example, we are involved in the project Moscow-St. Petersburg toll road, and main partner is Vinci. It's a French company with a very long and successful story in toll roads construction and maintenance. So we hope that they will bring that experience to Russia, and government would like to have a success story together with this world-known company to create a pattern and to multiply it later.
Of course, you were with the government before you're the deputy minister. How, I guess, have these old relationships would have helped you in Troika Dialog in developing this?
Oh, it helps definitely, and just maybe it's a little bit easy to address government people, to persuade them to explain some ideas and projects, and to show the bilateral interest and benefit for both parts.
What are the sort of main, I guess, arguments that you need to present to them? How do you convince them, I guess, to take more active involvement?
First of all, many projects we are discussing are in agenda of the government because it's important for the government, for the country, but it's not affordable for the government as a sole manager, arranger of the project. That's why the government tried to find a private partner. And our role, it's not exclusive role, but nevertheless, is to bring a reliable private partner who can put its own skin on the game and to share risks and success together with government. But it would like to get from the government firm and long-term contract, transparent, with a predictable level of tariffs if it's regulated. So it's two ways road where the government and private partner would like to benefit from each other.
The BRIC story, of course, is very well known in Russia as a member of the BRIC, but I suppose Russia may be a bit unique in the sense that it's close to Europe, has strong economic ties between both Europe and Eastern Europe. How has Russia basically been impacted by the global downturn? despite being a BRIC country? And where do you see this going forward?
Very seriously, both from Western counterparts and Eastern as well, because Russia deeply depends on the consumption of its export goods, commodities, both from Western countries and Eastern countries, particularly China. Moreover, the ruble, like Russian currency, is also very dependent on the oil price. And we saw the situation when oil price plumped down during the crisis. The Russian ruble lost quite a lot from its value, despite of any attempt the government to support it through the huge reserve. Russia now has the third amount of reserves in the world after China and Japan. But nevertheless, we are still very dependent, and the structure of our economy is still not as good as we declared to be.
So it sounds like you're exposed to quite a few different types of risk.
Yes.
The currency risk, the
Yes.
market risk,
Yes.
commodity risk, etc.
Yes.
Right. What do you see as sort of the key points of Russia's future? Where do you see the growth coming from, and where do you see maybe some challenges?
I think that we should preserve our commodity sector, because it's like a chicken with gold eggs, and develop it and support it in terms of fiscal policy. But the most emphasis, the most impetus should be done on new technology, on infrastructure development, on innovation, and the government has been creating some special institutions like Special Economic Zones Investment Fund, like Rosnano, it's state corporation, nanotechnology, like Russian venture company, fund of funds, which invests partly into the consortium with private investors and managing companies. So these institutions should help us to change the structure of economy, which still looks unsatisfactory in terms of bias on commodity and very deep dependence on the international conjunctions on the oil price, metal, and fertility.
Thank you so much, Andrei.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.